My Hero Academia has like so many quirks, and it could be anything. It's not just a typical element based or whatever. Like I remember there's this one hero who he's literally a spray bottle. And I was like seeing it on Twitter.
Oh my gosh, right.
Yeah, he's a spray bottle. I'm like, whoa. So you could be anything.
I would say so. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, very different for My Hero. We're so used to having the school environment and things being dire, but just going straight into like something so intense. It's exciting.
It's quite clear we have different viewpoints.
I don't know about y'all. I have a lot of anxiety.
Yeah, I'm like no school, and yeah, no.
Yeah, I think as we've seen in the show so far, a lot of buildup has been to like the League of Villains, and so while still like dealing with that and going to school, and now it's kind of all coming to a head. And I think like the anticipation of that is really exciting.
I mean, some of my favorite parts in like previous seasons are when she kind of like takes over for Aizawa and, teaches the kids and helps them pick their hero names. So that tends to be my favorite interactions. It's kind of like seeing how much of a mother figure she kind of steps in and is for them. And it's a fun part of her personality to kind of like explore that as a pro hero, you may not see quite as much. With the R-rated hero. So it's like she gets to step back down into PG-13 for a bit.
100%. I read the manga, so I knew what was coming up. And so to finally get to this point where, we're seeing in episode 1 so far that she is gearing up to just be so cool and just seeing her true heroic self. Because we've seen her pop up, show off a little bit of her powers, but she hasn't really had a all-out fight where it's just her just doing it. So I'm really excited to see her just be amazing, and I'm excited to see the fans who don't know about her get hyped for her.
Absolutely. I mean, the thing about him is I feel like even without any of that, I've always felt like the villains in particular, they're almost more human in that we're all flawed. I mean, in that, there are layers. We're all onions, so to speak, with layer after layer after layer till you get to that core. I think it's less obvious with the heroes. With the villains, you see that pain, you see that trauma, and it's right there in your face. But yes, being able to actually speak about these things that I have known for several years will be gratifying.
I think for me, like I sort of have to decide in order to give him a stance, but at the same time, like doing my research, it was a little tricky. It was like I have to try to also use the text and what I'm given to inform my decision. So a lot of the time it was tricky to kind of be like, where does his allegiances lie? Like, where do his loyalties lie? And I made a decision in my head about it, and I think that will lend itself a little bit to the performance based off like who I think Hawks is as a character. But there were a lot of moments where I definitely wasn't sure. I think Hawks, at his core, has a good heart. Like his intentions are always in what he thinks the most right decision is for society. I think that's evidenced by his conversation with Endeavor in the previous season or 2 seasons ago. And but I do think that there's a genuine friendship between him and Twice, which I feel like makes Hawks' position a little more tragic in that he is kind of developing real friendships with the League of Villains, and like how does that influence his loyalties? How does that influence his mission? And what will he do like depending on like these relationships that he's built and these kind of ties he has to both sides. With Hawks specifically, because he is spending so much time with the villains, it kind of humanizes them in a way that I think may not have been in previous like kind of encounters with them. Like I don't think a character like Hawks would see them as simply just they're villains for the sake. They have their own like goals and motivations and hopes and dreams, and I think a character like Hawks, and even me playing him from that perspective, kind of sees tries to see the entire picture of who these people are as. Of course, I got you.
Very little is black and white.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that's very evidenced by not only this season but the previous season.
I think for Mirko, she's way more black and white.
Yeah.
Seeing like she's all about doing the good thing. She's very heroic. She, wants people to be protected, and so she will defeat any evil. And I don't think she would really question whether or not they're human or what their intentions is. Like, all she knows is they're not good for society, and so they need to be destroyed. So
I'm very excited for things to come to the fore, to be revealed. Selfishly, I've been waiting a long time, I feel like. So, yeah.
I invoke the fifth.
I'm always excited to see more Mirko, like, she has done nothing but slay in all her scenes, so that's the most exciting part for me.
I too am excited to see Mirko. That's my number one kind of excitement point. But I think like the previous seasons, especially season 5 to now, have been sort of teasing this kind of build up, and a lot of these chess pieces have been kind of being put in place. And I think the most exciting thing is seeing where they all fall in this season, and it's exactly what's going to happen, and like what like kind of a battle between the heroes and the villains, outside of just like kind of these encounters they sometimes have, what a battle like that really looks like. And I think that's probably the most exciting thing about it, is the stakes get high, the tone gets a bit darker, everything's kind of coming to a head, and like a lot of things will be like revealed, and nothing will be the same afterward.
It reminds me of like setting up like a huge dominoes
like
board, and it's like just waiting for that first domino to tip.
I mean, it's always intriguing to see how they're going to actually handle certain situations that have already happened in another capacity in the manga. So, I mean, that's always very intriguing because it's never quite precisely the same, right? I mean, they've got to make some adjustments here and there, and that's always, yeah. I've got kind of a twofold. The practical one would be compresses, because I travel all the time. So to be able to put all of your luggage and, I don't know, maybe my son, my car, and a little marble, although there's potential for losing things, I know. And then impractical, I'd like to be, and I don't think this exists in the show, but controlling and manipulating time would be pretty interesting.
In like a true to life fashion, like what I think like my actual quirk in real life would be, I tend to burp a lot. You can ask him. And so I feel like my quirk would be kind of like that Willy Wonka scene where like I can propel myself with my burps, or I can shoot them out at my enemies like a sound wave almost.
When you first started this, I didn't think like burp propulsion was where this was going.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be one that's on the show.
Right.
I mean, you can say whatever you want.
I tend to really like teleportation. I think it's a really convenient power. Help be everywhere at once. I think it'll help me a lot. And so I tend to say like teleportation. I think that's a cool one.
My Hero Academia has like so many quirks, and it could be anything. It's not just a typical element based or whatever. Like I remember there's this one hero who he's literally a spray bottle. And I was like seeing it on Twitter.
My gosh, right.
Yeah, he's a spray bottle. I'm like, whoa. So you could be anything. So I guess thinking outside of the box, it's like, oh, I don't know. But I've always wanted to be a waterbender,
That's so cute.
So anything that lets me manipulate water is cool. But I guess another thing that comes to mind now, I would love to be kind of like Catwoman, where I can call cats to my aid and they can just fight for me.
Right.
Oh, like,
awesome. Like
yeah.
The Aquaman of cats.
Yes. I need that. Like that would be, that's all I need.
There's a scene with Hawks, and he encounters a villain, and they have this conversation, and I think that conversation is about the heart of who someone is really, really, in my opinion, what the show is about, and how these two hearts sort of conflict. I think in this really, really dire moment.
Mine, I guess it hasn't occurred yet, so there's that. But as far as what made me fall for him is that scene where he's that episode where they kidnap Bakugo, and there's that overhead shot of Dabi in the forest leaning against the tree with the blue flames all around him. I mean, I have to admit, I saw that. That was one of my first sessions, and I was like, oh, he's so badass.